welcome or welcome back. My name is Sorbot, and today's video is going to go slightly different. I said at the end of the last video that I was going to do 7 portraits, roughly 30 minutes each. I never ended up doing that, but I did do some portraits this week. 4 of them, or 4 pictures, not necessarily portraits. And I'm going to go through the process of making each one of those. And let's begin, I guess. So for this first one, first thing I did was line art. I think that's a pretty common start for most people. I then did the base layer. Just masked it all out, put in some color. I then started moving on to the skin. So I did a first layer of the skin, and I did a first layer of shadows. Did some darker shadows on top of that. After this, I don't quite remember exactly what I did next, but I probably would have done hair. I usually move on to hair. And then it'd be base layer hair, first pass of shadows, second pass, and then usually highlights. But in this case, it's the third pass of shadows, and then highlights. Moving back down, I usually do eyes last. It's common for me. So clothing, didn't really care much about the clothing. It was more just throwing something there. That's why it has very little detail at all. And yeah, I wasn't sure if I actually left the line art in this picture or not. Then moving on to the eyes, base layer eye color, some shadows, some more shadows. Although the actual eye, I thought it was somewhere else. Oh, okay. Next picture, or the next one. I don't know. So, again, I follow this step with pretty much every part of the body or character. I base layer, a few layers of shadows, and some lights. Then moving on to the effects. That's why I call them as effects. So this first one, I don't think that layer does anything. Then just some shadows, make the character pop a little bit. Going on to this next one, there's actually a stage before this. I have some friends who are wanting to make a game, so I was kind of, taking a hand at some concept art. I've never really done it, but I wanted to give it a shot. So I have this character development page that I use. I have one for males, females, such like that. But going on here, first thing I did, line art. Usually, line art. Base layer, first level shadows, second level shadows, highlights. This one is actually very, very simple drawing. I then did some background. Now this is just some clouds, Control U, you get some color saturation changes. Made it a bit purple. I threw some space on top of it. Pretty much the first 2 images of clouds in space that show up. I then wanted to give it a little bit more. It's kind of like a little boring here. So I did this. Actually, I did this after. I did this first, which kind of had this moon shape going on. Then I wanted to add a little bit more, so I kind of add some color. Now it almost looks like there's the moon behind it. And then the final layer was the eyes, which let's zoom in on the eyes. They're actually the shape of the moon. You kind of got a crescent going on there. Just a little detail I threw in there. Going on to this one. I'm going in order as well. So I did the first one, I did what I call the Moon Goddess, and then I did this one. Started out with line art, and then I had this base layer, and then I did another base layer of skin. Even though they're actually, I think they're the same color, pretty much. Close to the same color. Yeah, this is just in the background, so I'll just throw that in there so I don't have to scroll back down. First layer of shadows, second layer of shadows, highlights. This is where the eyes kind of start, white, and then the eye finishes up here. And then I have the gold in here, which is the crown, and I do some first level shadows. You can see it up here a bit. Second level, and then some highlights. Now I did turn down the opacity. Actually looks, this is the way it was looking. Blue in the hair, just clothing. It's kind of reminding me of Ariel at this point. First pass, second pass. Now this picture was like 20 minutes, I think. This went really fast. I threw it together just to get it done, and then final level, some shadows. You know, I started this one yesterday, and I finished it this morning. Saying a lot. I don't have the actual line art for it anymore. I kind of erased the line art as I was going, but this is an idea of what the line art was, pretty much. So let's pretend this is my line art. Then I started with, now we're just going to say this is my line art. Oh, that's more line art stuff. Okay, yeah, I have the line art of the hair a bit. Base layer, skin, hair, slightly different colors. But this is what I used for the base layer of the skin as well, which I'm realizing where I was having problems and where I could have fixed it. First layer of shadows, second layer of shadows. I think there's a third layer of shadows. First level of highlights, lips, and slightly more detail in the lips. It's kind of hard to see there. Just pull that up a bit. Just a little highlight. I was going to bring it, kind of focus on this one here as I go through this. This was not next. This is like the last thing I did. But I'll just throw that in there. I did the back of the hair, base layer, and I'm calling it the back because it's kind of further in the foreground kind of thing, or background. I don't know terms. Leave me alone. First level shadows, second level shadows, third level shadows, and I had line art going through this, and that was a last touch of very opaque purple. But I didn't have line art, so you can kind of see the hair follows a pattern of some sort. Then I went on to, I don't think I did the eye next. I did the hair. I did the eye last. So hair, base layer, shadow, opacity. And then I did the eye, first layer of color, black pupil. So some more color. This didn't really go in an order of highlights or shadows or anything like that, but that's where it ended up. And then a couple passes of light, dodge, so multiply, dodge, and exclusion, I guess. Yeah, that was a bit of red. this one on the other side, I do not have any layers for that. Because all I did was I copied all this group and I turned into a smart object, and then Control Shift A will open up this big menu of it's the camera menu, and you can play with a lot of colors in there. So this is what I ended up with my painting. This is after some color correction, as well as a final layer of dodge, which I think I like it. And yeah, that puts the end of the video here, just over 11 minutes, not too bad. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Slightly different. I didn't have any big talk or anything, which is good. And let me know if you guys think I improved at all from this to that to this and to that. I think there is some improvement, and this is not even finished. Like, again, this is like 2 hours, hour and a half, not fully rendered out. I could have done it better, and I chose to sort of rush it because honestly, I wanted to play some video games. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.